All right. Welcome to the Ecom Power podcast, the Walmart Marketplace podcast. Michal, how are you? You can just press that button anytime.
Hi, Norm. Hi, Norm. I'm wonderful. Super excited to be here today. Super excited from our first guest. I couldn't think
Yes.
about somebody more perfect to start our first episode, and you and me here. So
Lots of fun. So,
yes,
this is streaming live in a couple of different Facebook groups right now. So, can't wait. We always encourage people to give us, any questions or comments. Love to get those. Love the engagement. And we do have a special podcast today. So, let me just tell you a little bit about what we're doing. First of all, today we're going to be discussing winning on Walmart.com. Why should you consider the Walmart Marketplace? We're also going to be discussing why brands should consider selling on Walmart in 2023, if there are certain steps sellers should follow when applying to Walmart, and how is Walmart working to make it easier for sellers to launch and scale on the platform. So welcome to Ecom Power. Michal, is there anything else that you'd like to add?
um, yeah, I think our guests have amazing information for us and amazing tips. So if you're already selling on Walmart, I think it would be great to hear just the inside, because he knows everything's going on in there, and he's gonna share a lot of tips of what's coming next. And I think that if you're new to Walmart, after what you're going to hear today, you probably want to apply. And if you do, wait, because we have a special link for you. So wait for that before you jump and apply to Walmart.
All right. And like you said, it's a special guest today. We thought this would be the perfect podcast to bring him on to, especially since we're new. Our guest joined Walmart in 2019 to launch the company's retail media network, Walmart Connect. Since 2021, he's led Walmart, the marketplace strategy and business development team, and the marketplace community engagement for Walmart e-commerce. Prior to Walmart, Matthew was a veteran sales and marketing leader of Disruptor, a media, I hope I said that right, media brands including Men's Health, Wired, Fast Company, and Dr. Oz. So our guest is Matthew Smith. Welcome, Matthew.
Hey guys, okay, note to self, shorten the bio. Is it wild? So I feel like I'm looking at kind of like Jets and Sharks. Like, Norm, you've been the face and voice of some other platform we won't name for so long. And Michal, you were an early mover, like a trailblazer kind of in the Walmart ecosystem, right? So
Yeah.
like whose idea was this to like get in bed together?
Oh, we're like doing stuff together for I think like a couple of years now.
Okay.
We're just slow.
Yeah.
We're a little bit slow, but I think the podcast was, both ideas. Like
I think it's when we were sharing desserts in Las Vegas at the last Prosper show. That's when it came up.
I got it. We're all freshly back from there. It's super cool to be here. Thank you, guys. It's awesome to see you, prioritizing this space, and it's really a privilege to be here, sharing some airtime with you. And I can't see our, any folks, our joiners live, but yeah, if anybody is contributing, I'll look forward to having some dialogue there too. So this is going to be fun. Awesome.
All right. And we do have a bunch of people listening. So again, if you are brand new to Walmart, this is the perfect podcast to listen to. If you are experienced, you're already on Walmart, you want to make sure you're going to pick up some really, I hate the word, but really great nuggets today, and, hear it right from the source.
Yeah. Before we break into that, Norm, I have to say, I did I thought that maybe we should all just have beards, like as long as yours when we started. But Walmart's same day delivery is just not that fast yet, because I literally had to do an hour ago. So
okay.
Future plan, future idea.
Well, it'll be the 30-minute plan fairly soon, so that would have been fine. But like Kelsey's been growing it for, probably about 3 or 4 years, and it's only got to be about a centimeter. But
But you know what? With the technology we have, we can probably use some filters and actually have we're gonna do like a little short video with all of us with beards. That's a great
There we
idea.
go. By the end of the podcast, Kelsey will figure it out.
Can't wait.
So why don't we get into this? Michal, why don't you start off the question,
Yes.
Matthew?
Yes. So, Matthew, why brand should consider selling on Walmart now in 2023, and why Walmart worth the time and the commitment that seller need to put, to start expanding?
Yeah. Well, I think something we might get into in a little more detail is that time commitment, right? And that sort of like level of effort, thankfully, has been shortening a lot. But I'll probably just start and say, look at you guys. I mean, the fact that you guys are doing this, the fact that we're all going to lots of events and we're seeing events and platforms and podcasts and things that used to be very focused on a certain other platform. Some of them even had the name in the title, right? Are changing that, right? And so I think it's an ether. I think if you're in the industry, if you're an e-commerce seller, if you're a brick and mortar seller looking to expand, I just look at what you guys are doing, and I'm like, that's kind of the bellwether. Which is super cool, right? But like the specific kind of pitch points, if you're thinking about it, I would say, I mean, you got to start with Walmart's scale. The first stat they teach you after they teach you the customer cheer, the Walmart cheer, which I won't do here today, is that we are America, right? 90% of Americans live within like 10 miles of a brick and mortar store, right? And on the .com, it's over 120 million monthly uniques right now. So that's the elephant in the room. It's just Walmart is everywhere, right? And we touch so much of the country. And e-commerce has been such a big part of the growth. I think, the Doug's last earnings report, he mentioned 23%, I think it was, on a 2-year stack. And so that's just a lot of opportunity, right, to grow the marketplace. So the table's kind of set there. It's important to think about, there are a lot of different kinds of marketplaces out there, right? Walmart's is what I'll call open, but open while being fair and safe, right, for both the customer and the sellers there. And so, like many marketplaces, we provide the platform, the audience, lots of tools for the sellers. We're going to enforce, safety compliance, legal compliance, et cetera. Make sure bad actors don't find a home on the platform. But we are not an invite-only marketplace. We're not, a particularly curated marketplace in the terms of, limiting to a small group the number of sellers who can come on. We welcome all sellers who will meet our requirements, and I think that's important, because that's how we make sure it can really get the engine going, that it can be responsive to market dynamics for both the buyers and the sellers, right? So from the pricing the customer's seeing, to the content, to inventory, to fulfillment. And then if you sort of zoom out a little bit, you think about, how can a marketplace remain responsive to things happening in the culture? And COVID's a great example of that. Like, so those unplanned, unpredictable demand spikes, a smaller, more curated, more invite-only marketplace is not going to be positioned to sort of, move with that, just because, the assortment's going to be, it's going to be more select. It's going to be smaller, right? And so that's our view on sort of open, safe, and fair, is we ensure everyday low prices for our customer by delivering a high density of sellers, and those sellers bring a high density of items, and all that moves with the customer, right? So I think another point is, and this is where Walmart is truly unique, is in omnichannel, right? So I mentioned the store footprint. And I think most of our listeners will be aware of the very large, existing sort of 1P, as we call them, enterprise suppliers. But the reality is they're not bringing everything. They don't reach a deal with the store merchant for everything to come through 1P. And so there's a great opportunity for catalog extension there for those existing suppliers. And then whether you're one of those big 1Ps or whether you're sort of new or wherever you are, really, there's this great opportunity to use it as a laboratory, right? Or maybe like a nursery, and think about it as a place where you could start to test products, test strategies, and gain some learnings among a really large digital audience, right? Maybe before you take that leap and you assume the risk, right? And ask Walmart to assume the risk of starting a 1P relationship. And I think we see a lot of great examples of that laboratory effect. I mean, our legacy program supporting U.S. jobs and manufacturing, Open Call, last year actually shifted to becoming marketplace first, meaning if you're on the platform already, thank you. We're going to give you sort of an early bird opportunity to open, apply to Open Call, which is basically our Shark Tank, style program to get in front of the merchants, get into the stores. We said, you know what, marketplace, they've sort of invested in Walmart. and they know the most about their product, and the merchants can look at their business and say, there's a story there. So making marketplace first, that program was like natural, and you're going to see us double down on that this year. And then I don't know if some of you were at eTail West. Was it last week or the week before? They're all blurring together, but I had a great sit down with the CEO of a brand called Clean Cult, which you guys might know is a really cool, sustainable DTC brand in the household cleaning space. They're a story of like, look, they were doing great in DTC, but realize it's a really really highly capital intensive space with really tough margins, and they sort of had to ask themselves, like, can I keep going on that DTC model, right, or can I diversify? So they came on a marketplace, and in less than 9 months, they're in stores now. I think they just launched. They announced, yeah, they're in more than 3,000 stores. So like to go from DTC to building the story on marketplace to then getting into like 3,000 Walmart stores is just like, I mean, it's they're so like they're over the moon, right? But
yes,
so
I
that
heard a couple of stories like that. It's amazing. This is like, if you want to ever get to the retail, it's like,
yeah,
the Walmart.com is the place to start.
And what's amazing? Like, I literally was on a plane, because that's all I do lately. But I didn't even tell this guy next to me that I worked for, Marketplace. But somehow Walmart came up, and he said to me, boy, it's been really amazing to watch just the shift among the Omni org, and the message from leadership at Walmart and from buyers being like, we expect full catalog. We expect you to start in Marketplace and make your case there. And so that proving ground idea, we've been seeding that for a while, and it's really kind of cool to see it coming back from like perfect strangers in the seat next to you. But why now? Like, let's get down to brass tacks. It's like we've got some great incentives in place now too. So like new seller savings, I'm sure you've been promoting it, Michal. That can get some new sellers up to 25% off the referral fees, and also an opportunity for an ad credit for Walmart Connect of about $500. So that was a mouthful, but I think it's a great time. There's a lot going on. I'm sure we're going to get into more of it.
Yeah, and I think what Michal was saying was really interesting, because she's seen it. She's been working in the trenches with these new brands. Some of them, might have been existing, but the doors have opened up, and there's a lot of people probably listening right now that are brand new. They've just sunk a couple of dollars into inventory, and what's next? And maybe they have an established brand, but there's a lot of people out there that, who knows, next year they're going to migrate or be part of Marketplace, and then all of a sudden they're right in the stores. This is exciting.
Yeah, it's super cool. And I think there's a lot of steps sellers have to take, obviously, but it's I was I was thinking earlier about, because I grew up in not to get into politics, but let's just say I grew up in a household that voted for Ronald Reagan, and there was that quote from Reagan, right, which is that it's morning in America. And so I was thinking it's kind of morning at Walmart. It's morning at Walmart Marketplace, in the sense of we're just right on the cusp of this thing blowing up, and it's an early mover advantage now to be in a place where the size of the platform is a pretty large fraction of the next biggest platform out there. But the competition for that share of voice is much, much lower. There are much fewer sellers competing for that mind share. So it's a really great opportunity to stand out now, right? And so obviously I dig it. I mean, I work here, but
I agree with you. I started selling on Amazon 12 years ago, and that time, it's like the last year or two right now with Walmart, is that there's not too many sellers. There's still tons of opportunities. You can still start building a catalog and start selling the next day. It's exactly the same. And I tell people, if you miss that chance of selling on Amazon 10 years ago, even 8, 6, 7, where it was like really good time, right? Now you have this opportunity with Walmart. Don't miss that opportunity.
Yep, 2013 all over again. But now, I talk to a lot of people, and I hear this all the time. It comes down to applying. Who should apply? And there's so many myths out there and misconceptions about who should or could apply on Walmart. So why don't we just get into, who should apply?
Yeah, I'm glad that we're myth busting, right? And I'll say, a year ago, definitely a year and a half, 2 years ago, we wouldn't be busting as many myths, because we've taken so many steps to make this process of getting on much easier and faster. I hope that, my comments a moment ago about it being an open marketplace sort of dispels any myths about, I have to be working with the merchants already, or I have to be in a certain category, because the reality is no. I mean, you got to be a good actor, right? You got to be a legitimate business, and you got to prove that to us, like any marketplace, through, your business information, tax ID, supporting documents, etc. And assuming you get through that hurdle, which is really just, are you legal? Are you compliant? Then we're looking for people who have a history of marketplace success or e-commerce success. And so that's not to say, someone just breaking into e-commerce can't join. Of course you can, but you'll face the similar sort of challenge that you would on any marketplace, right? Which is growing your business from scratch. And so folks who are existing A-word sellers or other marketplace sellers. Yeah, I'm gonna dance around that all day, guys. Sorry. You've got an immediate opportunity because you can show that success to us in your application, right? And then essentially, again, if you're a good actor and you're ready to sell e-com, we got a broad diversity of sellers, and I think this is where we diverge with the Walmart legacy players, the 1Ps, right? Because we come from a universe that was very focused on brands, right? And so, of course, brands are super important for the marketplace. Whether you're an e-com native brand, right, that's been in 3P forever, or you're an e-com native brand that's been doing sort of hybrid 3P, or started in 3P, then got into a wholesale relationship with one of the other players. If you're a DTC brand, like I mentioned, my friend, Clean Cult, maybe you're expanding there. So we're seeing that happen, and I think DTC is interesting because there's a big outlay there, right? And it costs a lot to build that audience, maintain that platform, et cetera. So the opportunity to take the brand that you've built and the high quality products that you've built, and then bring them, essentially push a button to put that in front of massive scale, I think that's really enticing to a lot of these folks. And really without cannibalizing, the base that you've built on your subscription model. And so, and then of course there's the 1P players that we have who can, why should a mod planning cycle where they didn't come to an agreement, on certain terms, leave any items on the table? Like, get everything in front of Walmart. So, use that nursery and expand your catalog. So that's brands, and that's important.
Yeah.
But differently than the 1Ps, like we also, because it's a marketplace, there's all these what I'll call one-to-many players out there. So distributors, resellers, brand aggregators. These are all critical because these folks bring large assortments, right, that cross multiple categories. And so, to my earlier comment about how does this work, how does this deliver on EDLP and customer promise, it has to get to sort of critical mass, right, and density of items. And so those players, those distributors, resellers, et cetera, that's where they really help us. And that's that's going to be important to getting the engine going. And so and the good news is, we've got a lot of systems and tools in place for those two cohorts, right, brand resellers and brand owners, to really operate in a safe and sort of up and up kind of a way. But all of this really, I think, leads to, I think it's a big mind shift, not just for how people think about Walmart, but how these brands think about how they win on Walmart. Because in the marketplace, everything is item based. It's an item based ecosystem, right? And wherever you fall on that list that I just went through, you're competing with everyone else who has high quality items and great items. And I think that's a mind shift in sort of Walmart, which is cool, but it's also important for folks to remember and think about as you're operating in different channels, right? Where you're maybe playing up and being regarded more sort of at the brand level, right? This is an item-based universe and you got to bring it. So I think those are some great ideas for who can come on the platform, but also just again, I hope everyone listening heard themselves right in one of those buckets that I just mentioned, because it's essentially everyone who can safely and profitably operate in e-commerce, and we want them all.
Yeah, and I take a look at a lot of the brands that aren't on that other platform. Maybe they don't like the other platform. Maybe they were on and left, but now they've gone on and they're on an e-commerce platform. They're trying to do this themselves, and they're discovering driving traffic over to their site might be a really arduous task. And you have to remember that when you come over to the Walmart marketplace, it's a captivated audience again. You've got a lot of traffic going over. It's up to the brand to really generate that sale. The the traffic is there, they're captivated. Now it's
Mhm.
up to you. You put up a good listing, just like on any platform, you'll get the attention.
Yep.
So one of the other things that I wanted, like, just to follow up on, the whole application process. I know last year when Michal and I used to talk about this, we'd say, oh, we found it easier to go through one of your partners, one of the partner network. Um, I've recently discovered, Michal and I were discussing this the other day, how the marketplace itself is so absolutely simple to apply. Do you want to just kind of go through that?
Yeah, that was a huge effort. I mean, really from the top down, right? From John Farrar to Tom Ward, our chief e-commerce officer, all the way down to, I mean, the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of product and engineering, right, and strategy, and because, look, I think me coming here, us being Walmart being at Prosper this week in a really big way. Me being at Prosper a year ago was really kind of the first time we're like, 'cause I think Michal, we were on a panel together, right?
Yeah, we were on
Yeah,
a
yeah.
panel together.
And
This is how we met,
and
and yeah,
and that was, I think that was important because it's like, I think we for the first time, maybe, but we definitely left with an appreciation of the fact that this is a community, right? And they have specific needs, and to make a big push into this space, which we are and will continue to do, we have to approach the community and we have to listen to the community, right? And so I think did a lot of listening last year. Of course, we do, our seller NPS, Net Promoter Score surveys, but we also need to start listening to the majority of the sellers out there who aren't yet on the platform, right? And I hope we'll pick off a few of those today. But big piece of feedback, of course, was it's just really hard. It's hard. It's laborious. I'm getting declined for no reason. I tried it 4 years ago and I got burned, and just, so you got to sort of appreciate the places people are coming from. And I think it was super cool to just see our leadership take that feedback and say, we're going to fix this, and I can tell you, not a lot of specifics. I can just tell you it very quickly became P0. For a lot of teams, and to their credit, they turned it around. Look, is it done? No, I mean we are constantly iterating on the platform, right? And we have to, right, to get to parity and then hopefully surpass, right, and have best in class. But we get it by listening and by taking that feedback and then going and actioning on it. So yeah, what that means is, like, a few months later, sellers that come to the platform today have a really, really simple, 3-step process: the business verification, setting up items, shipping, etc. And then to your point, look, there's a lot of help you can get there. If you're working with a solution provider, great. We've got partnerships with tons of them and API connections. If you're working with an agency like Michal's, great. So I think we're appreciating that the feedback had, the community had feedback, but also there's just this really heterogeneous mix of actors in the community who all have voices, but also, right, all have a role to play here. And I think that's what you're seeing, right? You're seeing us try to very humbly and intentionally and proactively build those relationships so we can get that learning and keep iterating.
Okay.
yeah. I want to say that the application process becomes so much more simple, and because we remember years ago we had like the video that we explained people how to apply. It was really long because it was like 3 pages, that a lot of questions, and now it's just like quick, a couple questions, 1 page, you apply, you get approved or not. If you do get approved, then they will ask you a couple documents, and then you're all set up. You add some information and you can start selling in like few hours, when in the past it could take a couple of days.
Yeah.
And just selling on Walmart for 6 years and remembering the platform 6 years ago and today, I tell seller, you're in such an amazing time. It's so easy to list. It's so easy to connect all this software you're using. There's amazing tools that show you amazing data on, what's selling, what's not selling.
Yeah.
So I think today is like we came to, like, it's like such a good time
Yeah.
to start selling.
I'm sure we'll get into the details of that as well, but like, it's also important for people to go into it with eyes wide open and understand the easy thing, like, would be make the platform easy to get onto, right? But the more challenging thing, which is really on the seller, but which we're here to help with, is how do I tweak maybe an existing strategy, right, that works on one platform, and now, whether maybe Michal, it's you, that people using your services as an expert, whatever that is, right? Understand it's a different ecosystem, right? In some ways. And so we'll probably talk
Yeah.
about that for sure. But yeah, getting on the platform is just table stakes. And that's where we start the clock, I think, for sure.
Yes. Yes, definitely. The success come to the people that come on the platform and understand it's different, and they can put the time and effort. Like we talked, in the first question, there's so many reasons why you want to do that.
Yep.
I'm going to follow up with Norm question, and that's where we see like a lot of frustrations with seller. So, what countries are currently approved to apply on to sell on Walmart, and is there more coming?
Yeah.
That you can tell us a little bit more.
Yeah, this is interesting. And we have a U.S. team and an international team, and I think Walmart made some pretty serious organizational shifts and investment in our global sourcing group a few months back, and I think you'll continue to see that really build. But it just points to this, like, international. There's so much, it's terra incognita in some ways, and there's so much opportunity for us to really grow there, and marketplace has to be at the front of that. So who's approved? I mean, I used to be able to rattle it off easily, but it's becoming more countries. But U.S. is obviously approved, Canada, U.K., Mexico, India, China has been obviously approved for a while. And then we've just launched some new ones. Germany and South Korea are now open. That's pretty recent. And yeah, there are many more in the roadmap for this year. And of course, it's nuanced, and many countries have very different sort of, laws about entities. And
Yes.
We discovered the role of, chambers of commerce in Germany, for example. But I think we've got a really great team there that's getting dirty in that problem for sure. And then the other thing I'll say is that's a two-sided opportunity in terms of sourcing, right? Because, for example, when we launched Walmart.mx, right, or Walmart Mexico marketplace, what that allows us to do is source marketplace sellers from Mexico, so sellers based in Mexico who now want to sell on the US Walmart.com, right? So that's great for the US customer. But then it also allows all sellers on Walmart Marketplace to sell in Mexico, right? And to sell on Walmart.mx. And so super cool that we're sort of working both sides of that problem. But yeah, international, I mean, that's probably as much as I can say about international, other than just like bookmark it, Google alert it. And, especially if you're a business that crosses multiple countries, or if you're in a country that's not yet, operating a Walmart Marketplace, if it's a significant one, it's in our roadmap. And so I would just like keep your eyes peeled for that.
All right. Just before we get to the next question, just to remind any of the listeners to ask your questions. I see that we have one that's just come in, but this is the right time. Matthew's here, and he's the person to ask. So or your comments, throw it into the comments section, and we'll get to everything towards the end of the podcast. So the next question for me, I'm kind of curious, is which of the categories or products niches are the biggest opportunities on the marketplace right now?
Yeah, this is where I think we get back to that notion of like Walmart is a barometer on the country, right? And increasingly, as we expand internationally, on the world. And so from a category perspective, that means basically any category that can legally and safely and profitably operate on the marketplace, right? There are few, if any, gated categories remaining. Food had been a category, for example, where for some strategic reasons and business reasons, it was not a focus for Walmart Marketplace, and now it is. So food sellers out there, come on board, right? So it's a really broad spectrum, and I think what's interesting is, and so what I mean, like specifically, like if you think about there's the categories from health to beauty to pet care to food to hard lines and sporting goods to automotive to electronics, like basically the world of e-commerce. We're open to you again if you're safe and compliant and you're a good actor. I just read literally today something out of eMarketer that was about the shifting pie chart in categories. And you guys will know, from your time in the space, how dominant apparel and consumer electronics have been, particularly in the marketplace space. And we are seeing that pie, now shift. And I think they mentioned that, they see furniture and I think home furnishings became a major player. I think they said it's going to be the second largest category by a year or two from now. And a space that I've worked in quite a bit, health and personal care, they expect that to see the biggest growth of any category. I think they said by 2027, particularly in things like household and personal hygiene. So that again, that's a lens on the market, right? But there's also new categories we're launching all the time. So I mentioned, we're moving most of those gates, but it takes a lot of effort by compliance and legal teams, right, to review categories. So we opened up the live animal space. So live insects and live fish for pets, live insects for probably food for fish and pets, catalytic converters, styrofoam products. There's all sorts of stuff that, again, if there's demand, then we want to fill that demand. We want to help customer, right? So you see us continue to open up stuff. And so again, I think the last thing I'll say is because we're so close to the customer, again, cultural events, things that happen in the culture, seasonals, holidays, like all of these become very real and very big. And you see the commerce at work in all of those at Walmart. So seasonal's big, obviously. So we're going to see over the counters do really well, during cold, cough, and flu season, which I hope is landing pretty soon. And obviously, like holiday times, we're going to see spikes in gifting and candies and food. Around Super Bowl, you're going to see great spikes in avocado and chips and just like basically anything that is happening in the world. You can basically look for Walmart to be helping the sellers in those categories at that moment in time, and that's what But then you've got to be ready for what we don't know is going to happen. So
Right.
COVID was that example of like, who knew, who could have, but when it happened, we all saw the spikes in certain categories, from masks to, runs on retailers for its basic household essentials. And then of course, when the testing came out, the diagnostic tests, et cetera. So, that's a demand spike that can be tough to comp, but for a good reason, because we're no longer in a pandemic. I think the way I think about that is like, no retailer, no marketplace has ever like planned assortment, around a totally unforeseeable event. So I think that's from a category perspective, that just points back to what we talked about earlier about to win and to be responsive and be where customer is at any moment in time, right? You got to be an open marketplace, an open but a safe, a fair marketplace, and you've got to invite that density, among the maximum amount of sellers with the greatest assortments possible. So I probably just exhausted the category question, but I think it's important for folks, who are in these spaces or are responding to these kinds of moments, right? And sort of tent poles, right? We want you, and we're going to help you.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think what you said was so interesting because I'm watching, for 6 years that I'm selling and helping sellers and brands. I'm watching how these categories are growing, more categories. And like what you said, that, category like furnitures or, outdoor things like that used to be like a small one. Now it's exploding. And I think a big thing is because so many sellers come in and they bring in with them their catalog. So a lot of categories there used to be so small. Now there's a lot of sellers. Now those categories are like exploding on Walmart, and definitely COVID was like fun to watch because at that time, from having, let's say, most of us, me and some friends, we were selling, could have had like 20 30 sales a week. It's exploded to like 200 a day. And just because a lot of customers started flowing to Walmart.com, because when they went to other marketplaces, there was out of stock there. For example, Amazon was like, to get things, something in COVID time was like 3 weeks.
Michal,
Yeah.
that's called the A word.
I didn't hear it.
A-word. That's a new phrase. We got the A word.
I have a Pavlovian response on that. I didn't even hear it, like literally. So I don't know what you're talking about, but
the A word about our Walmart's competition. But I watched that. I was watching how Walmart was prepared. It's like you didn't know that COVID is gonna hit, but you guys so prepared and things were shipping fast. You had stocks.
Yeah.
And we saw how, we saw the graphs. It was beautiful to watch, and I
Super
think
cool.
that was like such the right kick Walmart e-commerce needed to actually start shooting up.
Yeah, I think we chartered our own cargo ships at one point to get ready for holiday. So yeah, it's super fun, but it's not all bad. I mean, it could just be something as simple as like, look, it's a hot summer. People
Yeah.
need it. People need window AC units, and just like whatever that version is. Again, like open marketplace,
Yeah.
sellers bringing full catalogs. That's how you make sure you're there when that customer need arises, I would say.
Exactly. So my next question to you, we talked about it a little bit, but let's go into a little bit more detail. So we have new sellers, they applied, they got accepted, they're on Walmart. What Walmart is doing to help them, transit easily, launch a product,
Yeah.
and get some traffic, get sales, learn, understand the marketplace.
Yeah. The only thing I'll add to that sort of that onboarding discussion is we just launched a really cool innovation called Import Your Store, which allows you to basically just copy and paste your storefront URL from like another supported marketplace, and then it just directly uploads the products from there, right? The items. And so there's a lot of different ways, and again, through solution providers and other things where we can work with speed so that folks can get over that hurdle and like remove that obstacle. Like if you're a seller with 1,000 or 5,000 items, right? Do we want you to have to recreate those 5,000 items manually, right? Or can we help you with tools? So I think Import Your Store was a really cool launch there. And then, I like that. What I love is like, again, through listening to the customers and the sellers, I just see our product team cranking out really specific use case sort of product solutions, right? So Auto Fitment launched a few months back, which is specifically for sellers of auto parts where, product details, product information, and guidelines have to be so specific, right? And in order for the search algorithm to appropriately match, the search traffic and the inquiries, the queries, right, with the right products. So that's a really high bar for the sellers to meet and keep them up to date. So this was cool. Like we built a product that basically detects all of the sellers of auto parts, and if we think that their listing has not been successfully updated to match the correct product information, right? So we're essentially a product that helps the seller help themselves by ensuring their listings are more like organically search relevant. They're going to have a better time winning the buy box. So that's like super specific case, but there's so many examples of that. I mean, Walmart Restored, like we're making a big move into the reused, refurbished sort of category, which of course has all sorts of new sort of compliance questions, right, in terms of product safety and testing. And so that's a really exciting initiative that we think is going to unlock great opportunity for the customer and for that whole sector, right, of sellers of gently used refurbished products. And then like something that's broadly useful, and I think it just answers this really, really basic need, which is how do I remain price competitive, right? Especially if I'm in a space where I know that these same items are on multiple marketplaces, multiple retailers. Like, can you possibly hire enough interns to be like refreshing, the aword.com, listing page to see that price? And so just being aware of like the prices that you need to meet or beat in the market. So the Walmart repricer tool is an automated tool where a seller gets to select certain items where they need help remaining price competitive, set a ceiling and a floor, and then let the tool do its work and automatically update your prices, behind the scenes. And so that's just a very pragmatic, practical, but super helpful, kind of tool that we're using. And so I'd say that's sort of like on the innovation and product side, and like just making the platform better and better and better. But from again back to like a sort of brass tacks approach, we're super competitive on fees. The fee structure is very simple. Differently than other marketplaces, there's no setup fees, there's no monthly account management fees. The referral fee structure is quite simple as well, and it ranges from 8% to 15% based on the product price. And we've decreased very proactively the referral fees for a number of categories. So particularly in food and consumables, which is where I specialize, a lot of those items are lower price points, so margins are a bit more challenging. So we essentially lowered the referral rate on items with a price of $10 or more, so $10 or less, to 8%. So that kind of thing helps sellers as well.
That's very helpful for
Yeah.
sellers.
Yeah, and then I think you've got sellers of all kinds, right? Some are like super like some are like day to day, week to week on inventory management and cash flow, and it's like so the last one I'll mention is essentially it's a loan program we do. It's zero interest loans. Program's called Walmart Marketplace Capital or Cash Advance, sort of for shorthand, where you can get really quickly same day ACH loans that you can use to drive your business with us at zero interest.
I'm
You can-
using that for years.
Are
That's
you?
amazing. I love,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so apply it to WFS, Walmart Fulfillment Services, apply it to Walmart Connect, et cetera. So I just think, again, from listening and understanding the needs of the sellers, we're out there building more, product updates and innovations, and also thinking about the specific needs they had from a monetary and margin perspective as well.
So one of the things maybe we could circle back to is there are some deals going on right now. So for new sellers that are coming on, what are these incentives that are being provided?
Yeah. We do a number of them across the year, and there were many last year. I like that right now we have a really simple one going, which is just called New Seller Savings, which offers savings of up to 25% off those referral rates that I just mentioned, right? As well as an opportunity for an ad credit with Walmart Connect for up to $500. And so I think, again, simple, clean. We have some other programs that we're going to market with for other cohorts of sellers, some of the larger, very strategic sellers that are a bit more meaty. And I'm happy to share that, or Michal or Norm can put these sellers in touch with our team who are working on those. But again, I think we just have to make it easy for sellers to work with us, whether that's a platform issue, an onboarding issue, a transactability or site issue, or just a simple sort of like, I need a little help. I need a little financial help, guys. Like, do me a solid. So, I think you're just seeing us being really, really open in that sort of solution, mindset. Provided it's a way for us to get great items to the customer and make money together doing it. Yeah. So, encourage people to sign up and get that new promotion for sure.
Can we talk a little bit about maybe your top tips for three-piece sellers to get set up?
Yeah. How much time do we have left?
Much as you want.
Well, I think the first thing I would say is to refer back to what we talked about with the omnichannel idea, right? And depending upon what kind of seller or company you are, maybe third-party marketplaces are not yet at the center of your planning conversation. And I would just say they need to be. They need to be, right? And so, and the basic rule and reason for that is, I think, right, it's increasingly difficult, and I think I would say impossible for you to be everywhere you need to be in terms of from a 1P owned capacity, right? To have product in front of enough of the right customers. And so if you assume that customer is going to, again, as we said, it's an item-based universe. Customer can increasingly find those items in multiple places and be comparison shopping. It just follows naturally that you need to be in all the places, right? Like you need to have an offer in front of that customer. And what that means is you got to shift to omnichannel planning. And if you're only doing 1P now, or you're only doing 1P and one 3P platform, I think you got to zoom out and broaden the scope and think about, okay, 3P needs an equal seat at the table, right? The big table of your planning. Like you should start with yes to marketplace, yes to as many marketplaces as I can process out of the gate, and then move to the how, and then talk about the channel planning. So I would say that's tip number one. But assuming we're now talking to an audience of folks who are all about marketplaces, right, and expanding. For Walmart Marketplace specifically, I would say don't be bashful and like don't pick your winners in advance. You got where we are in our this moment in time of this opportunity for large mind share competitively and comparatively means you can't afford not to show the Walmart.com customer everything, because you need to be learning, right, and then shifting your strategies accordingly. So bring the whole catalog, trust the market dynamics to power the experience, and then go from there. So like once everything's there, then you really focus on innovation and those on-trend items that are going to allow you to hit those demand spikes, right? The simple but boring stuff, like, making sure the item quality, the listing quality is super high. So all the stuff that the Michals of the world focus on with your clients, right? About keeping content, really, really great. keeping
And
product
unique.
details right. Yeah, what's that?
And unique.
Yeah, and unique, right? And understanding that the keyword strategy is different on Walmart than other marketplaces. Don't stuff your title with keywords, right? We like really clean, concise titles. The algorithm does, and make sure that you're looking at the analytics from a lot of folks that we work with or your agent that tell you what are the good search terms and the keywords, because again, it's a different customer, right? So do the due diligence and do the boring but critical stuff, and then of course, use our tools like WFS, Walmart Fulfillment Services, and WMC to then accelerate on top of that, right? So, and then at the end of that, it's like you just got to make sure you're bringing it to the customer, because we know nobody goes anywhere without reviews, right? And great reviews. And so I think don't be bashful and like just do all the stuff, right, that you need. And then I think kind of related to that is, if I just said don't be bashful and like bring everything, it becomes a resourcing question. So like the tip number 3 would be like, you got a resource for this in advance and understand you're going to need resources for it, right? You can't just suddenly say the person who was doing, the A word work is now going to do A and W from a time management perspective, but also because the strategies won't work the same, right? And so you're going to need specific skills. I always recommend where people can do it, gain the support of an outside partner that has a great vantage point, really more objective vantage point, like a Michal, like an agency, like a solution provider. And you're going to think about your in-house team as well, right? And what does that look like, and how does it need to change, right? So just understand that success for you in growing this business or growing this channel is not just about like us providing a large platform and lots of tools for you to use. It's also about you understanding how will you staff your business for it, right? And I think that's pretty critical. Another point which we've alluded to is Walmart Marketplace is a different platform than others. And I think in many ways, it has a lot of superior aspects to it. And we could talk, all day about that. But I think the key point for your listeners and watchers is you can't just take the strategy you've been using somewhere else and expect it to work here, right? So like specifically our algorithm, the weights and measures that go into your offer listing quality, we call LLQ, might be called LQS somewhere else. That's different. So again, take the time to understand it and how our algorithm is going to affect your convertibility. And again, coming back to, it's based on the behavior of our customers, right? So can't stress enough, like do the due diligence to like find the actual data and the analytics so that you'll know how to win with our customer, right? So, and then I think the last thing, just to sort of like land the plane, is even if you do all of that, which I hope you will do, and I expect that you'll see great success right from doing all those things, you should really understand that you'll need to remain bold and kind of embrace the chaos, right? Because it's going to be messy. Even as I think as evolved as certain other platforms are, it's still messy. This is a really wild space, and it's wild because it's always changing,
Right.
right? So if you're an open marketplace, like every day, every search, every customer, like that's all a new experience. Every add to cart is net new, right? And none of them are exactly like the one before, right? So because the customer behavior is changing, the assortment is changing, the world is changing, and open, safe, fair marketplaces can be responsive to that. But sellers operating on open, fair, safe marketplaces just have to be comfortable getting dirty in that problem every day. I think you got to really like it. I mean, I love your guys' perspective on that, because you've been dirty in that problem yourselves, right, for many years.
One of the other areas that I love, and I think you're far superior than some other marketplace, is your help section. So I've been stuck. I've gone to help, and here's your pre-launch checklist. It's all laid out. Follow these steps.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a video. Here's the information that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. So if you are just getting onto the marketplace, you can go to their help support. It's just the question mark up at the top, or what is it? Help dot
marketplace.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll send the link out for sure. Yeah.
Right. And it's
Yeah.
so easy
Yeah.
to use.
And you can jump. There's the jump off points directly from Seller Center. Your Seller Center account. to reach all those resources. And yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that, because again, there are a lot of other teams at Walmart working on those and building those out and maintaining those. And as the experience changes and the customer need changes and the seller needs change, we're constantly updating that repository, right, of knowledge. And so, yeah, Seller Academy, as we call it, is a great source for just self-help. And back to the resourcing question, look, getting help from a live human, which we do offer, right, for many sellers and in many cases, and free, by the way, and free account management in some cases. That costs you time as well. Time on the phone with somebody costs you time as well. It doesn't just cost us time, right? So the more that you can avail yourself of the self-help materials, the better, for sure. And so I know that team will be glad that you plugged that, Norm. I appreciate that.
No problem.
So
Okay.
we're gonna get to our last question.
Oh, already.
Yes, we can talk for hours, but yeah, but so there's, like we know this, and like we talked about, there's things happening all the time. There's updates, there's new features. I think, again, my personal opinion, because I'm there for like more than 6 years on Walmart.com, it's right now it's very close to I wouldn't say perfection, but it's simple. It's simple to sell. It's simple to optimize. Just a quick tip. If you guys don't know, Matthew was talking about know your keyword. You don't need to go nowhere. You can go to your ads account, put your SKU, and Walmart will tell you all the keywords by the volume that are the best for your product. You don't need even to, pay somebody. You can do it yourself. So, and the listing tool that is created to make you an optimizing expert for Walmart, like those things, they're there and they're amazing. And if you use it, you will be very successful on Walmart. So what's more is coming? If you can share any updates, anything, that we want to know.
Yeah. I'm always really limited on future stuff that I could talk about, because, being the largest company in the history of the planet, there's things can happen, right? But there's so much going on. It's cool. I love that you said how much easier it's become. But look, I want to be really real with this group. It's that we know there's a runway ahead. Like, we know there's more improvements we have to make. And I just want to encourage everybody to keep sharing feedback on what you need, because our customer doesn't win unless our sellers win. So we are fully aligned on that. And so it remains like our interest. So please don't feel like your opinion is not warranted or valid or deeply needed, actually. So I think you're going to continue to see us doubling down on that kind of work, right? On site, on seller experience, on customer experience, on platform. There's a lot there, right? And so you're going to see that, you're going to see changes happening regularly, which is another reason why, as we communicate those changes to you within Seller Center, right, you need to be absorbing that, right? Because all of it's going to be positive change. It's going to help your business. I think you're also going to see us, this is an example of it. You're just going to see us be more present in the market, and really identify this community as a community with all sorts of different actors in it who are important and that we need to find ways to engage with, and, bang our drum, tell our story, give our pitch, of course, but also listen and learn. And I think we saw that at Prosper this week. I'm not going to list all the events we've already been at, but you can probably guess, if you're a major, ecom player or just familiar with the space, if there's a major door open or a major group, we're going to try to be there this year. Again, not just to promote ourselves, but to also listen and learn, right? So help existing sellers grow their business, get, acquisition of new sellers of all those different kinds that we talked about earlier, and just listen to you guys, right? And so if you've been in an event with us and you've seen us, you've seen that partner support has been there, right? And so I just love the idea that we're bringing the Apple Genius Bar concept, right, to the exhibit hall floor, which is super cool. I also think that open call program, I would encourage everyone to set your Google alert for Walmart Open Call, because as we talked about, we shifted it to a marketplace first strategy last year, and you're going to see an even greater focus on that this year. And you're going to see a very special version of this program for the 10th year anniversary. So it's going to be happening at the end of October, and registrations are going to open, I think, in July. So I would just watch for that, because the sooner you can get on marketplace, so literally if you're not, please go apply, right? And then for your items that are made, grown, or assembled in America, in the United States, you've now got a great runway to go, make that business case, learn the customer, show some sales, and basically arm yourself for that pitch, right? So set the Google alert, Walmart open call, watch for it, apply now to marketplace, so that when open call registration comes up in July, you're really, really ready for that. So yeah, I think that's probably what I'll land on now, is just really wanting this community to understand like how important you are to us, and how kind of humbly we're approaching the space, and how hard we're working really to improve the experience. Wherever you are on your journey, right? If you're not on the platform yet, we want you on, and we want to help you. If you're on the platform, we want to know how your business is doing and how we can help you, right? So don't take that statement any less seriously than it's intended, because we are eyes, mouth, and ears, especially in the market this year. So I really appreciate you guys having me here to talk about it. It's super cool.
Yeah,
Yes, and
we're happy that you're coming on.
Yeah.
We do have a few questions. Kels, if you want to get into those.
I want to say something. We appreciate you because I know you for a year now, and I see how much you go on calls with people that are important, and getting all the information and share it with Walmart, and doing so much. So thank you for everything you're doing.
Yeah.
I have to say, Michal, you said you've been doing this 6 years on Walmart.com. Yep, I immediately thought we have different badges, different badge colors at Walmart, like when you hit a milestone. So I feel like I need to get you a badge for the 6 years.
Oh yes, we'd love to.
All right, so I do have some construction happening like right next door. So if you can hear it, just let me know and I'll mute myself, or have someone else read out these questions. But the first one is from Alfonso. We definitely didn't get short questions, it looks like, in the comment sections, but from Alfonso. Hi guys, I'd like to start selling in Walmart. I'm an Amazon seller since 2018, but I get rejected every time. I don't know why this is happening, but I don't have any access to see why I get rejected. I think it's super important at least to be able to see why you get rejected when this happens. I have a disposable medical product brand, just for some context. But
okay, well, that's my category. So assuming you're a good actor, I'd love to help you out. I get it. It's super frustrating. We hear it a lot. And I think this is where we go back to the journey and just the evolution. And it's important. I actually did a webinar a few weeks ago on marketplace risk. And we got really deep into that notion of just the risk that a major platform like Walmart assumes when you expand beyond 1P to 3P, right? And I mean, it's not news to any other 3P marketplaces, but so I think there is a built-in tendency or preference to avoid risk, and therefore, just to a certain extent, you need to assume the worst possible, scenario, so that you can protect against that, and then allow all other good actors sort of get through. So what I literally mean by that is there's a lot of scrutiny placed, on sellers, from a legal and particularly compliance, right? So the compliance standards that we have. And I think we do get some false positives there, right? Where good actors who are compliant are getting rejected. And, we own up to that. But I think it's important to start from the background of why, right? Which is that for you to win on Walmart, right, we have to protect our customer, right? And in the space, we all know of some unfortunate things that have happened in the space where there are times when large swaths of bad actors are able to get access to customers, and that's bad for the customer, right? Because it's bad customer experience. In some cases, they lose their money or whatever. So we got to start from like what's good for the customer, and then go from there. So with that, I didn't answer your problem, Alfonso, other than to say I want to talk to you about it. But I also want to let you know that you're not alone in not getting exactly the reason right why. But it also is because, again, we have to protect our customer from bad actors, and if we give information, for example, that allows bad actors to leverage it, right, for sort of wrongdoing, then we haven't helped the customer. And so that's why you're always going to see Walmart err on the side of only sharing the information that is critical for you to basically be able to action upon it if we've deemed you a good actor. And so again, I focus mainly on the background and sort of the philosophy of it, but the actual like boots on the ground reality is we're constantly talking to sellers and helping them to the extent that we can to evaluate their appeal, right? And so I'll say the same thing to you. I'm more than happy to look at it, and we can connect through Michal afterwards.
All right. Next one is from Elizabeth. I have 5 FBA returns that are in excellent new shape, one SKU. I'm sending it to Walmart as my first product. Is that okay to start with?
Yeah, we're talking about. So, are you using? I guess the question back. I don't know if she's able to tell us, but I'll just say if you're using Walmart fulfillment services, right? I believe that will be fine because obviously you're shipping to us on pallets, and assuming you've met the product quality guidelines, right? For that, you will be fine, right? Because we're going to pick, pack, and ship. It might be slightly different if you're a direct shipper, and so I want to get more specifics from your case as well. So I think for all of these, I'll give you sort of like the answer I can give you now, and then let's actually talk offline, and we can get into your case specifically.
And just
Single
make
SKU.
sure,
Good. Okay. Good, Elizabeth. Thank you. There you are.
just make sure they're not in a box that has a smile on it.
Yeah.
Walmart doesn't like that.
Yeah. So, yeah, brown box especially should be fine. Because we're also, we're increasingly offering multi-channel fulfillment as well, which of course has to be a brown box, right? So.
Okay, and our last question is from Keely. Keely's asking, is Walmart going to have customer service for sellers only? There have been times when I email Walmart and they take a long time to get back, or they answer, but they refer to the Walmart back office to get explanations, to get a straight answer. Maybe if Walmart had some videos on how to do things the way Walmart wants them done, it could save some time. Is that in the plans at all? Do you know if?
Yeah, I would say the level of service you'll get from Walmart Marketplace depends on sort of the level of your relationship, and so starting from the top of very large sellers who might be working with our account management team and doing so at no cost, honestly, all the way down to anyone being able to access the self-help and seller academy tools that Michal mentioned a moment ago. And so not sure exactly where you fall in that spectrum, but I suspect there is a resource for you in our seller academy. And if we can, talk offline about what your specific need is or where you're getting stuck, I'm sure we can refer you to it. And then we can also look at your business. And, if it warrants some live human support in the form of account management, like I'm happy to look at that as well. But definitely appreciate any frustrations. It's, it's tough having to wait for an answer or not being able to get through. So we'll find a way through.
Yeah, I know Kelly personally. She's amazing. She's doing amazing on Walmart.
Good.
And her frustration is coming, because she put in so much effort and she's working so hard. And but thanks you, Kelly, for sharing. And we will follow up on that.
Awesome.
So I think, Matthew, you're off the hook.
What, are we done? That's it?
It's done. Oh my gosh.
So I had one more thing, if you don't mind.
Sure.
So we're talking about growth, right? And we started talking about your beard, Norm. And I'm gonna lay down the gauntlet, my friend, and I'm gonna say to you, how long is your beard right now? Like from the let's say the base of the lip, that chin, top of the chin, all the way down to its longest point.
Maybe 1.5 feet, something like that.
So 18 inches.
Yeah, something like that.
And how many inches does it grow a month?
I don't know a month, but usually half a year, I cut a fist off.
So 6 months, 6 inches?
Yeah, 6 months, maybe 4 inches. Yeah, something like that.
Oh, the math's too hard. Anyway, what I'm saying is like we could start a challenge here, right? Where every month you're gonna cut an inch of your beard off, and every month I'm gonna grow a beard. I'm gonna grow it an inch longer, right? And we could basically meet in the middle. And I need a calculator to find out when that month is, but we could start now. We could call that the end of the game, and we can do another episode then and talk about everything that's changed in the meantime.
There we go.
I'm just kidding. My husband would divorce me.
I'd be pretty scared to do that. An inch at a time, you grow an inch.
Matthew, before we are finishing, we have a link in here. As you can see, we share it with you. Can you tell people a little bit more? What is that link?
Yeah, thank you so much. So QR code, you can snap it, or you can enter the bit.ly link that you can see. So bit.ly/Ecom Power Walmart, ECOMPOWERWALMART, bit.ly/Ecom Power Walmart. That's going to take you to our application page to become a new seller on Walmart. And importantly, use these because these are tagged back to this podcast, right? And this team, right, between Norm and Michal, and they're going to get credit for it. And basically, from here on in, they're going to be using the same link and the same QR code, in all the communications they send out to their seller community, because we want to know how effective this was, right, at getting people what they needed, helping you guys learn, and encouraging you to join the platform. So that's where you can go. Was that a good pitch? Was it clear?
Yeah.
There you go.
Great,
And
great. We can also track those applications, right?
Exactly.
So if somebody needs help, we can try to help.
and it determines whether I take you up on your challenge or not.
Let's just say I might circulate a photo with your. I had the COVID beard, like a lot of us.
Okay, all right.
And it just, it wasn't a good thing.
Well, I thought this was going to be good. This has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on, Matthew. And regardless of the next time, what the time frame is, would love to have you come back on the podcast. It was great.
Thank you guys for what you're doing. It's exciting. Day one for Walmart Marketplace.
There we go.
Yeah, and again, I encourage your community to reach out directly if we can solve any specific problems. Thank you guys for the attention. This was super fun. I learned so much from you guys.
All right. Thanks a lot. And just winding it down, I hope everybody enjoyed this episode of our first major podcast.
Yes.
Michal, do you have anything to say?
Nothing. That was I couldn't expect our first episode to be better than that. It was packed with so much good information. And I hope you guys are going to come back. We're going to be here every 2 weeks. And soon you can find us on all major platforms. And thank you.
And we are going to be repurposing certain bits and pieces of this. So you'll find it out on all our different social media channels. So thank you. And we will see you next time.